A new janitor, a big secret, and a decision that jeopardized the future of a school. Hello, friends. You're listening to The School Principal, Part 6, written by Jalal Al-e Ahmad.
The new janitor arrived in the middle of the second week. He was a thin, sharp 50-year-old man who wore a nightcap and a blue uniform, made from the same fabric as police uniforms, and constantly fiddled with prayer beads, acting like an expert on everything. The drinking water was fetched in turns. Each of the janitors had their day. The school became clean and tidy and gained a certain liveliness. The porch floors were washed. They even installed the heaters, those same old wood-burning heaters. They had paid 30 tomans for their installation, which the superintendent had gotten from the Ministry of Education, and I had signed the 5 receipts for it a week prior. 2 people could easily have managed the heater work, but the new janitor was all about the calculations, and I heard he had said, then what happens to its budget? So the superintendent had ordered that a laborer be hired. He loitered around the school for 2 full days and was just like a Haji Firuz during Nowruz. Before polishing the heaters, he'd polish himself and his face. He had become a perfect buffoon among the kids. Perhaps that's what made them lose their fear. They replaced the heater's tripods, lined their inner walls with clay and brick, and installed them. And now we had to run around for coal and whitewood. We sent the old janitor to the Ministry of Education office 4 days in a row at noon, and we were constantly waiting for the coal. Not even a week had passed since the new janitor's arrival before the teachers started complaining. He didn't greet any of them, nor did he run after their petty commands. He didn't give a damn about anyone. Like everyone else, he arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, and although he was illiterate, he signed the attendance register. He drew a crooked line in front of his name that you'd need magic and an astrolabe to decipher as Hussein. When the noon bell rang, he left like everyone else, and in the afternoons, too. It's true that he greeted me. But the teachers, each within their own right, possessed virtues, titles, and knowledge. And in any case, they had enough self-importance to expect a greeting from a school janitor. But it was as if nothing. He considered himself the equal of everyone else, too. And strangely, he insisted on signing the register. Worst of all, he was the teacher's bugbear. I had drawn my line from the very beginning and had given them free rein to close the office door on themselves during free periods and say whatever they wanted and do whatever they wished. But he, during break times between lessons, as soon as the teachers came in, would come into the office. He would pour tea for them and hand them water, and then he'd just stand there in the corner of the room. And the teachers were exasperated. They couldn't drop their teacherly personas in his presence and be themselves for 10 minutes, nor did they dare to say anything to him and tell him to get lost. He was foul-mouthed and could hold his own against all of them. They had sent him on a fool's errand for black chickpeas once or twice, but he was sharp and would quickly do the task and return. He had truly become a pain in the neck. In any case, the upshot was that for several days, during the quarter-hour breaks, the teacher's raucous laughter no longer emanated from behind the closed office door. There was surely a storm brewing. 10 years of experience had taught me this much. If teachers can't laugh during the quarter-hour breaks, they will beat the people's children in class. And if they don't rid each other's bodies and minds of the burden of knowledge with jibes, they will fall asleep in class. So I intervened. One day I summoned the new janitor. First small talk, then how long has he worked, how many kids does he have, and how much does he get paid? Which is how the issue was resolved. Yes, he received a salary of 300 and some tomans. With 25 years of service, 300 tomans was no money. But in a school where its most experienced teachers got 192 tomans, that's where the problem was. It was clear the teachers were right to see him as an outsider. No diploma, not a scrap of paper, no rank. He was nothing more than a janitor. And on top of that, he was a bully. And he had a right to be too. First with hints and innuendo, and then explicitly. I made him understand that although teachers have no worldly reward, for a devout and understanding man like him, who had doubtless heard something of "he who taught me a word" and such sayings. It was unexpected, when suddenly he ran over my words. "Hey sir, what are you saying? You're not one of them, and you don't know them. Today, they want me to buy cigarettes for them. Tomorrow, they send me for liquor. I know these people. You just happened to pass by here today. But I've worked with these young dandies all my life." He was right. He had sized me up faster than anyone. He had understood that I was a nobody at the school, but I was afraid he would go even further. I wanted to back down, but being the school principal and staying silent in front of an impudent janitor. Just then, the rumble of the coal truck reached me. When it braked and the noise died down, I said, "Such talk is improper. Since when does a teacher's pay stretch to liquor? Now go, the coal has arrived." And as he was leaving, I added, "In 2 days, when they're desperate and ask to borrow money from you, you'll become friends." And I came out onto the porch. The school's large iron gate had been opened, the truck had come inside, and they were unloading its cargo in front of the shed at the end of the yard. The driver handed a paper to the superintendent, who glanced at it, pointed at me standing on the upper porch, and sent him up. He handed me his paper with a greeting. It was the coal voucher. It was an official Ministry of Education receipt in triplicate, and on it was a typed weighbridge slip stating the truck and its contents totaled 12 carvers. But the official ministry receipts were silent. The space for the amount of coal delivered to the school was blank on all 3 copies. It was clear the recipient was supposed to fill them in. That's what I did.
I took the papers into the room, wrote the amount on all 3 sheets with my pen, signed them, and handed them to the driver, who set off. And from up there, I said to the superintendent, "If it needs a stamp, you stamp it, for heaven's sake." And I went back to my work. I was thinking about the new janitor and his sharp mind and experience, and that it would be so good if even 2 of the teachers had his experience and seniority, and if we all had his maturity in our work, the people's children would become philosophers in a year. When the door opened and the superintendent came in, the coal voucher was in his hand, and, "Didn't you understand, sir? They'd left the space blank on purpose, sir." I hadn't understood. But even if I had, it wouldn't have mattered, and in any case, I lost my temper at such untimely stupidity and said sharply, "Well, it's nothing, sir. It's their custom, sir. If you don't play along with them, they'll sabotage our work, sir." That made me lose my composure completely. Such frankness was implicating me, the school principal, in their dealings. I yelled, "What? Now you're giving me orders too? A curse on this Ministry of Education and its principal if that's me. Go give the paper to them, damn them. To hell with them, the bastards." I had shouted so loudly that no one at the school expected it. I was a meek, obliging principal who begged everyone and followed every grocer and water carrier right to their doorstep. Because I knew the parents of the children needed to learn such manners more than their kids did, and now the school superintendent was teaching me to receive, say, 18 carvers of coal instead of 9 and then settle it with the Ministry of Education. Ha! Until noon, I couldn't do any work, except write and tear up the text of my resignation letter several times. This is how they place the first step in front of you.
The next part of this story will be uploaded tomorrow. What you will hear in the next episode. In a remote school, a teacher discovered that the real foundation of education was not books nor teachers, but something far more mundane, a pair of shoes. Looking for entertainment? On this channel, we share Iranian poems, stories, and podcasts in different languages for you. If you are interested in Iranian literature, culture, and tales, this is the best place for you.